What's happening, YouTube? It's Simon 466 Cards, and today we're going to check in on Beckett. And we're going to check in on Beckett's owner, which is always a wild ride. And we're doing this because with the SGC news and them becoming more of a diminished version of themselves, Beckett could step up. They have a role to play in the grading space, and they could have a bigger role to play in the grading space if they do the right things, but that hasn't been the case for quite a long time. And so that's why I want to do this video, to check in on Beckett. And we haven't really heard from them in 8 months. The last time we heard from them, which is what you see on your screen, was December of 2024, when Beckett was announced as part of a new umbrella company called Collectivist Holdings. And since this came out December of 2024, right around the holidays, obviously a bunch of collectivist festivus jokes were made at the time, if you recall. But if you forgot what happened then, they were being included as part of this umbrella company called Collectivist. And the highlighted section is the most important part. Beckett isn't being acquired by another company, but details on whether ownership will change wasn't immediately divulged. Beckett has been owned by Global Growth, who's embattled CEO Greg Lindberg, pleaded guilty to insurance fraud last month. And just to refresh you guys, Greg Lindberg, the owner of Beckett, is a hot mess, is the easiest way to describe it. He's pleaded guilty to insurance fraud. He was also guilty of bribery, and because of the fraud, he owes all of his creditors and victims about $2 billion. So just a hot mess, and that has basically put Beckett in limbo because he still owns the company, right? And so that means that Beckett can't really do too much, and the courts have more or less frozen what they can do, because Greg Lindberg kept on skimming money off of his companies, right? So that was December 17th. 2 days later, on December 19th, King Street, which is a high risk asset company, they gave $250 million financing to Collectivist. And this was on December 19th, as you can see here in this article from Collect by Ben Burrows, and which was 2 days after this article, which was from December 17th. And since then, we haven't really heard anything from Beckett. It's 8 months later, like literally 8 months later. This was December 17th, December 19th. I'm recording this video on August 16th. I will release it on August 17th. And yeah, like, we haven't heard a peep from Beckett. And so I think it's important to see what they've been up to. Here is the update. The Greg Lindberg saga, as this article says. U.S. judge clears pathway for sale of Clan William in the Greg Lindberg saga. And you're like, what in the heck is Clan William? Well, let me tell you. It is a company in Ireland. And a U.S. judge has cleared the path for funds from the sale of Clan William Group to be paid to the victims of former shareholder and convicted fraudster Greg Lindberg, who pleaded guilty to insurance fraud in a $2 billion scheme last year. So Clan William is a software company in Ireland, and is wrapped up in all this because Greg Lindberg is their owner, and Greg Lindberg needs to pay back $2 billion. And so this company was sold for $318 million. Why? Because software company Clan William was not a factor in any of these cases, but Clan William is considered a primary restitution asset, according to court documents, making an important cog in returning money to Lindbergh's victims. So Clan William had nothing to do with Greg Lindbergh's fraud, but Greg Lindberg owns them. And so Clan William is being sold off to pay back the victims. And so this company is worth $318 million. A U.S. judge has said it's okay to sell off this company to pay back the victims of Lindbergh's fraud. If you are a judge, or you are a trustee, you start off with the highest valued assets. And I can say quite confidently that I don't think Beckett is worth $318 million. And so Beckett would not have been first on the list to sell off. It would be the biggest company, because you make the biggest difference by selling off the biggest company. But they might be one of the companies next on the list. And so the fact that they're selling off companies in the Lindbergh empire that has nothing to do with the fraud to pay back Lindbergh's victims suggests that Beckett and I guess collectivists is next, or if not next, is coming up down the line. I don't know how many other companies are between 318 million and whatever someone is going to pay for collectivists, but it's got to be in that lineup somewhere, right? Because I don't see a situation at this point in time where Greg Lindberg will hold on to Beckett, and it's just all of this mess holding up a potential sale of collectivists. And that's kind of where I'm at with this. Now, I want to point to Neo Cards and Comics, friend of the channel, shout out to Rob, to this video that he posted. When did he post this? This was 10 days ago. This was August 5th. And he was talking about the different grading companies, and I'm just going to play this for you because Neo knows stuff. Neo knows stuff, but he doesn't always tell you until it's more solidified, let's say. So let's see what he says.
I think Beckett is going to make bigger waves with their potential future announcements, but we'll see how that all shakes out. A little tease. We'll call it a little tease in the business for y'all. If I get more, I'll talk about it some more. But as of right now, that's all I am comfortable saying.
So Neo is suggesting, hinting at big news. This sure seems like Beckett could be sold down the line, and so I think a Beckett sale might be coming at some point in the future, maybe the near future. However, as always with Beckett, and as always with Greg Lindberg, nothing is simple and straightforward. There's always a twist of some sort, because as of this point in time, Greg Lindberg is awaiting sentencing because he's been convicted of fraud and convicted of bribery. However, here is the twist. An article from the New York Times. And I'm just going to read this to you because this is a wild ride. On the morning of January 6, 2021, a top White House official assured a Republican lobbyist that his client's pardon application would be placed in the pipeline for consideration by President Trump before he left office. January 6, 2021. Does that day sound familiar to you? That was kind of an important day in U.S. history. Hours later, the administration was torn apart by Trump supporters' attack on the Capitol. The lobbyist never heard back about the pardon, and the client remained in prison for his role in an insurance bribery scandal that shook North Carolina Republican politics and left thousands of retirees unable to obtain access to their annuities for years. 4 years later, the lobbyist is back, pushing for a presidential pardon for the same client. That's right, the insurance mogul Greggy Lindberg. And so, what if Greg Lindberg gets pardoned? Because he works the back channels, does some stuff to get some leeway politically, and then all of a sudden, no longer going to jail. What if he is no longer going to jail, and then now he's saying, well, I didn't commit fraud because I've been pardoned, so I don't owe $2 billion. Or something. Who knows? Who knows? I can't rule anything out with this guy. And so I can't take that off the table, and maybe that's one of the things that is also stalling this, because I believe Greg Lindberg is also suing to stop the sale of this company here, this Klein William company. And so, yeah, that's also on the table. What if he gets pardoned for the two crimes, not one, two, because there was a fraud and then there was a bribery charge. And if you're saying, well, Simon, that he would never do that. Well, just again, keep in mind, he literally bribed a state Department of Insurance commissioner to get rid of a regulator. So we can't rule anything out with Greg Lindberg. And if he's trying to pay off Trump or do whatever to work the back channels, can't rule that out. So yeah, anything is possible with Beckett. But I would say with this news that it sure seems like it's hinting at a sale, and it would then make this $250 million financing make sense, because maybe King Street was told, hey, give us $250 million, and in 8 months to a year, we'll have a new owner who'll be able to pay you back. Because $250 million financing to a company that's on pretty shaky footing, if we're being honest, is risky, but not if you have like solid proof or solid belief that you have a good chance of being paid back. So that's where we stand with Beckett. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you as always for listening and watching. I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.